What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I've got some cool stuff to show you today. I bought something that I've been wanting for a real long time, and let me go ahead and unbox that for you. So we'll just get right to it. I already opened it, but I got a pretty good deal on this. Bam! I've been wanting to do an S2000 cluster in my EG for a long time. It even came with the K-tuned speed healer, and it came with the Wireworks plug and play harness. So I just got to plug this in and we're good to go. I paid around like 500 bucks for it, and that's like a super steal. And it's an AP1 cluster, revs out to 9 grand. Not like the AP2 cluster, it starts to redline at like 8,500. I wanted the AP1 because my car revs out to 9 grand. So let's go ahead and get to installing this. So this is what my stock cluster looks like, as you guys can tell, stock EG cluster. An issue I've always had with this cluster, for some reason, it never like displayed the correct RPM. It was always behind like 1,000, or even like when I'm redlining, it's behind like 2,000 RPM. My redline is 9,000, and when it starts to hit the limiter, it'll sit at like 7 grand on the cluster. So it's just kind of annoying. So I guess now hopefully I won't have that issue anymore after I install this cluster. I'm super excited about this. If you never removed an EG cluster, it's pretty simple. Just a couple screws here, pop off this bezel, and then there's more screws holding the cluster in. So let me go ahead and get started and remove the cluster. Okay, after removing, I think it's like 3 or 4 screws, the bezel now comes off. Make sure that you remove the hazard button first, because there's a little screw hiding behind there. And then just make sure you disconnect all the plugs for the clock and the hazard button. And now you've got those screws right there. And just undo it. After you remove the 4 screws for the cluster, you just disconnect the harness. And the cluster is out, just set it off to the side. And I got to figure out how the S2000 cluster is going to wire up. This is a Wireworks harness, so this should just be plug and play. But there is these two plugs right here. I'm not entirely sure where they go to. This is just a ground. So let me try to figure this out real quick. Alright, so I disconnected the battery. I actually looked up the instructions for installing this, and it's kind of, the wiring's all messed up in here, but I finally figured it out. So it's pretty simple. This blue connector here is going to connect into this one, and then the original one will go into here, and pretty much so on and so forth. I need to unplug this big one right here, because that one goes into here, and then the original one goes into there. And that's just how it gets its power and all the signal readings and stuff. So let me go ahead and get started on this, and hopefully the next clip is this thing installed, or at least just running, so I can go ahead and show you guys. But let me go ahead and get started on this. So I've got all the connectors the way that they should be, right there, and that one goes to here, this one to here, and the original goes there, and right here. It's got the K-tuned speed or dash converter. I think this is the speed sensor signal. Just got the ground mocked up right there, and it's all plugged in the back of the cluster. So I need to plug in my battery, and then we'll see if it turns on. Here we go, guys. Moment of truth. Got my key, put in the ignition, point this towards us. Let's see. Wow. Dude, this is so cool. Wow. Okay, well, I guess the cluster works. Now I just got to clean up the wiring and make sure it's all nice and clean. I don't know if I can actually film that. I don't really have a tripod out here. So let me go ahead and get started on that, and I'll show you guys the finished product. So I got the bezel fitted in there, and yeah, so I just got to clean this wiring up. But I removed these two bulbs right here because this was for the ABS and the SRS lights, so I had to remove them real quick. But yeah, let me go ahead and finish up this install. So I've got the cluster in there, and dude, this is so cool. This is crazy. I would have never imagined that I'd be able to afford this cluster in my car, and yeah, this is sick. Wow, cool. Well, there you have it, guys. I paid $500 for the complete EG setup for the S2000 cluster. I know retail with the Wireworks plug and play harness, it's like $650 for the harness alone, and then plus the cluster, they're anywhere from like $400 to $500. So it's easily like $1,000 setup. Luckily, I was able to find the deal on it, and you know, I jumped on it as fast as I could. And I'm really glad I did, because it's something that I've been wanting for a really long time, and I've been very fortunate enough to, you know, be able to afford it. And I'm just super stoked that the car just keeps getting more stuff that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. So I think that's it for this video. Thanks for the support. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.